Hey guys, Aubrey here with Erie Motorsports. I just finished up lowering the motor, and so while I've got this thing torn apart, I'm going to build a new air cleaner setup for it and intake. So I'll show you what I had before and what I'm doing now, and then we'll get started on building it. So this was the old system here. This is a power-driven diesel filter that I had on there, and it did a decent job of keeping this clean and giving me pretty good airflow. But you can see it's got a lot of mud in it, so it needs a deflector at the very least. But I wanted to go with something that could really take the desert dust in case I do end up taking it out to King of the Hammers, and also just that I wouldn't have to worry about anything getting through. I wouldn't have to worry about cleaning it all the time, and I wouldn't have to worry about mud getting stuck in it. So, so before I had, there's my supercharger, and there's my intake. This sat right on there. It's kind of nestled back in here, tucked under the tire a little bit, and you know, it's not a bad setup. But one of the things that I'm dealing with is this is my bypass valve here. And so when the turbocharger kicks in, it pulls air through this valve. And so I had this piped to a little 3-inch K&N filter. I'm not sure what happened to it. It's around here somewhere. But anyways, it's not ideal. Like, it probably wasn't letting as much airflow in as I should have had. But it did decent because most of the air was getting pumped through the main filter anyways. So I've got to get a new piece of aluminum piping to go from here up to the intercooler. And so before I had this piece in there, and it won't reach now. So I'm using the same bend, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll show you over here. So I'm going to take this and say my turbo's down here, my intercooler's up here. I need to extend it. So I could just chop this and add a piece in the middle. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually cut it like here, and I'm going to put this end into my turbo so it puts it up on a slight angle. I'm going to take this piece and turn it around and mount it to there so that it'll fit in there a little bit better, give me a nice tight curve coming out of the intercooler, and then angle up. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's going to make it fit a little bit nicer because I have to deal with this piece of tubing right here. So if I just extend that out, it's going to want to hit right here. So this is going to bring it out in like 140 degrees maybe around, and then it's going to go a little straight, and it's just going to have one seam. And then I'm actually going to use an expander to make it so that seam slips over, and then I can weld it, because I know that butt weld and grinding it flat would look a lot cleaner, but I don't want to risk that weld coming loose when I'm in a race. So I'd rather deal with that seam than risk that. So so here's what we got for an air cleaner. This is a Napa number 2818. And so there's a K&N version of this where you can pull the filter out and you can clean the filter. This is an all-in-one housing. So this thing is glued in here. You cannot take it out. You cannot get around it to clean it. So you can take your air hose and reach in here and blow it out. But it's not something that you can like go around the outside of it and clean it, because it does not come out of this housing. This is an all-in-one unit. Yeah, take it out and throw it away. The good news about it is it's only like $130 all told. So the K&N version, it's removable and you can clean it, but it is like $400. So I'm probably going to get the K&N and then have this one as a backup. But it's hard to show you with this camera just how thick this thing is. Like, this filter, there's like 2 inches of material here. Like, this is going to provide a ton of filtration. And it's going to, you can see how tight those pleats are. So it's going to provide a ton of filtration and a ton of airflow. So it's going to get mounted right up in this area, and I'm going to build a new intake. It's going to come, I think it's going to come off of here and around this side of the coolant tube here, and then 90 degrees into that air cleaner, which will be sitting right in this area. But I have to, make sure everything will fit. This is also a 7-inch diameter flange, and I've got to take that down to a 5-inch for this. So might be a little overkill. It's definitely heavy. I think this thing weighs like 15 or 20 pounds. I mean, it's a big air cleaner, but it's going to protect my engine. It's going to give me good airflow and good performance. And I'll go ahead and get started on this, and we'll see how it goes. Well, that did not work out so well. I got one more shot at this. Guess I'm gonna have to figure out how to clamp it in there a little better. Okay, so we're working on a second attempt here. I've put this exhaust pipe expander in here so I can actually clamp down on this thing properly. Anything that was the right diameter or close to the right diameter would work, but this is able to get it to exactly the right diameter. So now I should be able to hold this in place. The only reason I'm doing it this way is because my tubing notcher does not go up to 3.5 inches. So, and also won't accept a 5-inch hole saw. All right, so I've been trying to figure out for a little while now how I wanted to build this valve. This is a one-way valve for blowers. You can see it's rated for 300 psi, so it's massive, it's heavy, it's got MPT threads on it, and it's made to go into a and it had threads on both ends. So cut the threads off of this end and tapered it down on the lathe, and then you can see, so it's a one-way valve. And it defaults to slightly open. It's the simplest system that you can have because it's just spring-loaded, and as soon as there's pressure up against it, it closes. So what this does is it allows air to flow into my turbocharger and bypass the supercharger when there's negative pressure between the two. So when there's vacuum between the two. So it's this is a new one that I got that's got a little bit higher temperature rating because I was worried about the temperature rating on the old one. But essentially what I've got is I'm going from stainless steel to this, which is just, I'm guessing, mild steel. And I didn't want to have a big old threaded fitting on here because it would be massive and heavy and add to the weight. This thing's already heavy. And then that's all just going to be bouncing around. So there's my turbo fitting right there, or the fitting that this goes into between the turbo and the supercharger. And I machined a ring in here because these fittings only come with, only the aluminum fittings come with an O-ring. So I wanted this to be stainless steel, so I could weld it to here, and I also wanted it to have an O-ring in it. So I got a little tool that I could use for that. Actually, I'll show that to you right now. Where is it? Nope, it's not that one. It's not that one. Where is... Oh, here it is. So this is for cutting O-rings. It doesn't really want to focus. I think there you can see it pretty decent. So anyways, because I want to have an O-ring seal in there so that, it's because, if it was a exhaust flange, I wouldn't worry about it being stainless steel, but I want to have a nice tight seal on this. So now I got to weld this. My options are to tear this valve apart and weld it, which would be fine. But there is some, I don't know if it's rock set or what they used on these bolts, but they put something in here to keep that tight. And I could pull it apart and then use rock set to put it back together. But I think what I'm going to try doing, this is a real heavy piece. It's going to take a while for it to heat up, and it's got silicone seals on it, so it can take up to 500 degrees. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try filling this with water and setting this in here and welding it and seeing if I can keep this part cool and keep it from heating up too much. So I've never tried doing anything like this before. We'll see how it works. And I'm also going to be welding, stainless steel to mild steel. So I'm going to be using stainless steel filler, obviously. And I'm just, it's probably going to rust a little bit right here, but I'm not too worried about it. Should work just fine. This basically probably takes, 3 or 4 pounds off of the weight of this overall fitting. So by not having to have a big female fitting on here going in, it would just be, and it would be too big too. So I'll give it a shot and see how it works. All right, I think this is going to work pretty slick. This is staying nice and cool. It's a little bit warmer up here, but not too hot. And you can see, the heat's nowhere near my silicone seals. So I'm just going to take it easy. Try and get nice tight little welds. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, I found a pipe expander, or I bought a pipe expander recently, and so I was able to expand this pipe to fit here. So you got this really nice fitment, and it slides down in there a little ways, which gives it some extra strength. So it should keep these from cracking because you're dealing with a stainless steel to mild steel weld here. I like having that mechanical interaction because these parts components are going to be heating and cooling. So having having that mechanical interlock as well as a small weld around there is going to make it much stronger, because this thing's just going to be just getting hammered up and down when I'm racing. So yeah, finish welding it up. All right, so that worked out pretty well. I've never seen anybody else do that or do anything like that, so I don't know if it would work, but it seems fine. I'm not very good at TIG welding, so, you know, and it's particularly awkward trying to do it in a water bath, but it came out decent. It's going to hold up just fine, and go and get this done, and get some paint on some of these other parts, and be ready to put some stuff together tomorrow. All right, so I just got this thing all fixed up here. Took it out for a test drive, no issues. Got all the fluids put back in it. There's no leaks. So I think we're good to go. Sounds quite a bit different with this new air cleaner on it, especially at the top end when the bypass valve opens. It's quite a bit quieter and a lot more pleasant. Take a look at it here and I'll show you what I did. So this is my intercooler pipe going up to the turbo, or to the intercooler from the turbo, and then this big pipe here goes from the supercharger to the turbocharger. Then we have this T off of it, comes up into here, and that's the bypass valve. So this allows air to flow directly from the air cleaner into the turbo without going through the supercharger when there's a vacuum. Then we got this big old piece of pipe here that goes and feeds the supercharger. So if the bypass valve opens, there's still going to be air going through the supercharger, and then there's also going to be drawing any extra air that it needs through there. And then I had to reroute the coolant hose, so that now comes down here, 90s, and then goes over into there. Here's the mounts. I think that's going to work pretty slick, you know, just impact and 4 nuts, and I can pull this whole unit off, so I won't remove these hose clamps. I'll just pull the whole unit off of here when I need to get in here. But everything's pretty easily accessible. I still have room for all of my Pelican cases in the back here for tools and parts and stuff. And seemed like it really made a difference in terms of handling, getting this motor lowered. And you know, we'll see once I put a 150-pound tire up on top too. That'll make it a little bit worse. But my first race is going to be 1 week from now. So we'll get to test everything out there for sure. The other thing was I put one of these mag locks in so I can have my pumper hose right there and snaps right in place. So that seemed kind of handy. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content. And I'll throw a couple of videos up here from the race if I have them.